Hello, and thank you so much for joining the Community Ledger. Some of you may know, Charlamagne Tha God from The Breakfast Club just recently visited The View, and it looks like they brought up the discussion about this Biden pardon, and things got rather heated between him and Whoopi. Now, I haven't seen the entire clip yet, so we'll be watching this together for the first time. So let's go ahead and dive in.
Charlamagne Tha God has been a vocal force in the media throughout the 2024 presidential race, and he's joining us now at the table. Please welcome back the author of the book, Get Honest or Die Lying, Charlamagne Tha God.
Hello, ladies.
Hello. Nice to have you back.
Thank you for having me back.
Okay, so my question is, after the election, you said that you were disappointed but optimistic. How are you feeling right now?
I feel the same way because, I mean, what's the other option?
Right.
You know, I'm a country boy from Moncks Corner, South Carolina, raised on a dirt road. So, you know, my mother was a Jehovah's Witness, my grandmother was a Baptist. So I still believe in this higher power called God.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can't believe in God when, you know, things go your way and not believe in God when things don't go your way. So at a time like this, you just got to remember your serenity prayer, which is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Because you can't change nothing.
I love that.
Yeah. Especially the wisdom to know the difference,
I
right?
mean, we can't change anything.
Can't.
I mean, you know.
Not yet.
Well, 4 years from now, I guess.
Or two.
You never know.
But let me ask you this. Like, Trump's campaign ads for some, they're saying they were very effective. And in one in particular ad, he used a clip of you from The Breakfast Club saying, quote, Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners. You say that line was taken out of context. I know it was. But it went on to become one of his most effective campaign ads. I'm also featured in one of his campaign ads.
You might have been 1 and 2.
Yeah. I was. He texted me and
Yours was
let me know that.
Context.
No.
No, it wasn't. But what were you actually saying in the clip? And can you please explain that? And how does it make you feel that the campaign used you like that?
Well, it's never good to be taken out of context, but I was explaining to my listeners how effective I thought the actual ad was. Like, you know, the ad was effective before I was in it. I was just sitting at home watching football, and I saw it, and I was like, whoa. And so I knew the immediate reaction was going to be, you know, people are going to say, hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that. So I was explaining that to my listeners. So, I mean, yeah, it never feels good to be taken out of context, but what I didn't like the most was that they didn't do anything to combat it. Right. I would have ran the same ad and just said, Donald Trump, you know, what is it? Donald Trump supports, what was it?
He was the one that was supporting
Yes, Donald Trump supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners. I would have ran the same ad because it was legislation under him as well. And
So just to clarify, yes, we all know there was legislation under him as well. However, not a single surgery was performed. So while it was still part of legislation that Congress passed, Donald Trump did not agree upon or facilitate a single one of those surgeries. And Kamala, when asked that, said she was going to follow the law, meaning if this subject matter comes up and there is a prisoner who needs this care, gender reassignment care, she is not opposed to doing whatever's necessary to fund that on the taxpayers' dollars. So just to confirm, because I know they're not going to do that on The View.
And you know what else I would have did if I was her campaign? Since Donald Trump used me, I would have used Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan said Donald Trump was a threat to democracy. Joe Rogan said he thought Donald Trump was, I think, unhinged was the quote.
Right.
You got to mix it up. You got to get dirty with these people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to muddy the waters a little bit, cause confusion.
Yeah. Let me ask you something that's going around right now. A lot of this conversation about President Biden getting criticized from both sides of the aisle for pardoning his son Hunter after repeatedly saying he would never do it. And a lot of people are saying that it's hypocritical, et cetera, as if the other side doesn't do it. But what's your reaction to it?
I mean, I think all of the criticism is valid because, you know, Democrats stand on this moral high ground all the time. And, you know, they act so self-righteous. The reality is he didn't have to say anything in regards to, you know, whether or not, you know, his son wanted to be pardoned. He could have said, hey, man, I'm not focused on that right now. But since they were calling Trump a threat to democracy and they were saying that, you know, nobody's above the law, but they were speaking about him, that's what they were running on. So when he kept saying things like, oh, you know, nobody's above the law, I respect, you know, the jury's decision in regards to my son, he didn't believe that. But he didn't have to volunteer that lie to begin with.
I'm going to stop you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed
You
his
really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all of a
No,
sudden?
I'm going to tell you what I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think he changed his mind because he got sick of watching everybody else get over. And this is just my feeling, because at some point you get to the place where you just go, so I'm just going to follow the straight and narrow always, because that's what's expected of Democrats.
But that's their fault. They're the ones that
They're
go out there and they stand on this moral high ground.
Listen,
they don't have to do that.
I'm a Democrat. Tell me what the moral high ground is.
The moral high ground is nobody's above the law. I respect what the jurors are saying. He don't have to do that.
So we're mad at him because he changed his.
Oh, no. By the way, I'm not mad at him pardoning
But
Hunter
you
Biden.
sound like you're
No.
If I can get in on this, I actually think it went further, and this is one thing we really disagree on. Joe Biden made a point of saying we stand by our institutions
Yes, I
and the
understand all that.
impartiality of the
Yes.
Department of Justice.
Yes.
Democrats ran on that. The same DOJ indicted Hunter Biden. How we shouldn't be saying it's corrupt like Donald Trump does. But then in his statement pardoning Hunter Biden, he says that it was a political pursuit by his own Department of Justice.
Can you explain to me why it is that when Joe Biden does something, everybody clutches their pearls? He's wrong.
Nobody
he lied.
has criticized Donald Trump more than me or Charlamagne Tha God.
I'm sorry. Yeah, people have criticized him more. I've criticized him more. We've all criticized him more. But you're missing my question.
Okay.
My question is, what is it that makes people flip out with Joe, but we don't have the same kind of thing?
Well, I don't think people are flipping out with Joe. I think Democrats are flipping out with Joe because Democrats believe that they don't represent what he's currently representing. But that's just not true. That's why I say they stand on this moral high ground that simply does not exist. And I think this is also the problem when we pick sides, right? We've turned political parties into teams. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. Ain't nobody more delusional than me, right? Okay? I feel like we're going to the Super Bowl every year, but I'm not delusional. Well, no, that is delusional. But when it comes... But when it comes to political parties, if you pick a side, right, if you say you're a Democrat, if you say you're a Republican, you refuse to be objective about anything.
That's why I'm an independent.
Yes, but
I think that's the best way to go.
But that's not a monolith. We're not, Democrats are not a monolith.
But why can't you say when Democrats are wrong? And why can't Republicans say when Republicans are wrong?
I'll tell you when Democrats are
wrong. So you don't think Joe
Biden
Biden is wrong?
No, I don't.
don't.
And can I just point this out to you? The president has a pardon power,
you're
right?
ridiculous.
I didn't say you were ridiculous, Ms. Goldberg.
Yeah,
I would never. I said that. I just think that's
Think
ridiculous.
about
Come over
it.
and give
Just
me a
think about
kiss.
it this way. Just very quickly, can you reframe it in this way and think about it maybe in this way? The president has the ultimate pardon power. Every president has done this, right?
Yeah.
And so what people are saying is that Joe Biden is now a liar, as opposed to Joe Biden is someone who now knows that the person that is going to be in the White House is on a revenge tour and his son is on an enemies list. And so he is using his rightful power, his rightful political power, to pardon his son. Now, is that a lie, or is that perhaps being pragmatic, having a change of opinion, as opposed to the president-elect who has lied almost 40,000 times during his first term?
Well, I can't say what it is because I'm not in
who has the moral high ground? Like, what's the faux outrage?
Neither one of them have the moral high ground. That's what I'm trying to get everybody to understand. But when you are a diehard Democrat or a diehard Republican, you refuse to be objective about the other party. Like, it's like we're watching them do something wrong, but we're making excuses for it.
Well,
we watch Republicans do things wrong and they make excuses for it. Why can't we just all be objective and call it what it is?
Because it's not balanced.
It's not the same.
I would have to say I agree with this one with regards to Charlamagne. He's incredibly right. The Democrats are hypocrites, and they do represent themselves as being this moral high ground, or having this moral high ground where they're law abiding and they do everything right, and anybody that doesn't do things the way that they do is, a heathen. And they've done an incredible job of dragging Trump, dragging RFK, dragging Tulsi Gabbard, dragging anybody, Jill Stein, anybody who does not get in line and participate in whatever agenda they have planned. And, it is hypocrisy, and I'm glad that he is speaking out against this. Me personally, I'm not surprised that Joe Biden pardoned his son. I don't think anybody's surprised. But what Charlamagne is saying is, it's hypocritical because you wanted to play this position like you're not going to interfere, you're not going to use your powers to grant any favors, and you're going to let the court, run its course and let the chips fall where they may, which, truth be told, was a lie. And, it's like the whole time you knew if you needed to pardon your son, you were going to do that. You were not going to let your son just flounder in prison, under your presidency. It wasn't going to happen. And we knew that. And like Charlamagne said, you didn't have to volunteer that lie because it just wasn't necessary. You could have just said, we'll see what happens. But you didn't have to say, I will absolutely not interfere and we'll let the courts decide, because it was a lie. And, of course, they're trying to justify it, Whoopi as well as Sonny, trying to justify it by saying, oh, well, he knows that there's about to be an administration that is going to be on a revenge tour, and so he wants to go ahead and protect his son. That's BS, because when Trump got in office the first time around, everybody around him was telling him to prosecute Hillary Clinton for all of those emails. And he said, you know what? It's not right. I do not really want to actually prosecute this woman. I don't want her to see her in prison. I don't want her away from her family. And he showed higher levels of morality than they ever had toward him. Now, do I believe that he'll actually get in office and start just, weaponizing the Department of Government in the same, weaponize the Department of Justice in the same manner in which they have weaponized it toward him? I don't believe that. I just think that he has so many other things to focus his time and energy on that he doesn't have this massive list of people whose, head he's after or who he's coming after. And so I just think that's the Democrats' way of just, excusing a lie, excusing hypocrisy. And the truth of the matter is, Biden administration is actually, playing with the idea of doing kind of like a blanket immunity for a bunch of other people. They're talking about pardoning Fauci, for everything that went on with regards to the pandemic. There have been a lot of speculation that Fauci was well aware that the virus came from a Wuhan laboratory in China and that he hid that information. And we already know that in regards to the face mask, as well as the effectiveness of those vaccines, Fauci was not necessarily 100% correct on all of his assessments or even guidance. So for whatever reason, they have decided that it is important to grant Fauci immunity. He hasn't even been charged with anything, but just in case, we're going to go ahead and give him some sort of blanket immunity so that no matter what, no charges can be brought on him from, 2016, 2020, who knows how long they're going to stretch it. But that in itself shows hypocrisy, because you said you're going to abide by the law, you're going to honor whatever the Department of Justice and the courts decide, and now you're offering blanket immunities for people who haven't even been criminalized. So it's like you just want to make sure all of your friends and all of your family are protected no matter what crimes were actually committed. You want to make sure that they don't have to bear any responsibility. And that is 100% hypocrisy, because you ran on Trump being the villain. Okay? You ran on Trump being the felon and the one that we should not be trusting and the one who is a criminal and the one who does not respect the rule of law. And yet, now that you have an opportunity to do the exact same thing, not respect the rule of law to protect your own interests, you utilize those privileges. So I agree with Charlamagne, and that is a rarity. But I do agree with Charlamagne. It is very hypocritical on the Democratic side, and that is the problem with Democrats as a whole at this moment in time, is that there's no real self-reflection. They can still not see the error of their ways. And so it is interesting how even after all of this time, a month after the election, that you still have these Democratic shills who are denying reality, who are scapegoating, who are making excuses, who are indulging in hypocrisy and just playing a game like, everyone else is blind and they're the only ones that know the real truth. But what say you? What's your opinion? What's your opinion about this conversation and the sentiment of Charlamagne? And do you feel a way about Biden actually pardoning his son? I would be curious. So go ahead and drop your comments in the comment section. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. And thank you so much for joining the Community Ledger.